Hello, it's me, and today we're going to look at this new puzzle that I got here called the DodeRhombus, or maybe it's DodeRhombus or something like that. Anyway, so first thing to look at is this actually came non-stickered, so I stickered it in the best configuration that I can. And what this is it's a face-turning rhombic dodecahedron. And it moves actually quite smooth. It was stiff at first. I had to lubricate it, but once I did, it moves pretty well. So this is the sticker configuration that I chose. Anyway, so what is a DodeRhombus? We can characterize it based on its geometry, and then characterize it based on how it functions as a puzzle. So starting off with the geometry, how would I classify something like a rhombic dodecahedron? Well, let's start back at the beginning. Let's start off with a cube. Okay, so a cube is a platonic solid, which means that it is a polygon. All the angles are, all the vertexes are equal, all the angles of all the sides are equal, and basically it has that kind of symmetry. You can see my video when I talk about platonic solids, but basically it's a platonic solid which has equal angles in the vertex and equal shapes on the side. Okay, so if I were to take this and truncate it, if I took a platonic solid and I truncated it by chopping this here, and I basically chopped off all the corners and ended up with the shape of those corners, which is a three-sided shape, then I'll end up with Archimedean solid. And the Archimedean version of this would be this guy here. So this is the cuboctahedron. And basically what this is if I took, so this is a square face associated with this, but if I chop down all these corners, I'd end up with this. Note it'll have a triangular shape over here. So this is the same number of vertexes here, corners here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I take a platonic solid and I truncate it and I come up with a cuboctahedron, which is the Archimedean solid. What I then do is I take what's called the dual of the Archimedean solid. So what's a dual? A dual is basically if I take all the vertexes and I turn them into faces, and I take all the faces and turn them into vertexes. So I convert all these I take all these faces and I bring them out and make them into corners. So this is a corner, this is a corner, this is a corner, and I take all the corners and chop them down until they're faces. If I do that, if I take the dual of the Archimedean solid, I end up with a Catalan solid. So you can imagine if I chop this down, I end up with a shape like this, and it's the rhombic dodecahedron. So the rhombic dodecahedron is the dual of the cuboctahedron. Well, so the rhombic dodecahedron is a Catalan solid, which is the dual of an Archimedean solid, such as this cuboctahedron, which is the truncated version of a platonic solid, which is the cube. Brings us back to the cube. So if you can sort of see what we're talking about here, the issue is because I chop these faces down, not all the faces are the same shape, but all the corners are the same. They're identical. They're translatable. So these are all the same, but these faces are not the same. So when I convert these into faces, all of these faces are the same, but these corners are not the same. This is not the same as this, just like this is not the same as this. So you can imagine if I take this and I turn this into a face, and imagine that this is squatted down, I'm going to have these two larger kind of triangular sides, and then I'm going to have more of a pointed side. So that correlates with this face over here. If you can imagine this correlating with this, and this correlating with this, and these kind of becoming a triangular pointed edge over here. So this becomes the face, and all these faces, because all these corners are the same, all these faces are the same, so it's translatable. However, if I look at the corners here, this corner has 4 sides, just like this corner. This face rather has 4 sides, and this corner has 4 sides. So basically, this corner is a translation of this face, and this different corner, which has 3 sides, is a translation of this face, which has 3 sides. So that's what makes this the dual. Take all the faces, turn them into corners, and take all the corners, turn them into faces. That's the dual, and that's a rhombic dodecahedron. So geometrically, that's what this means. This is the Rua cube, but it's basically a rhombic dodecahedron. Okay, fair enough. This looks like a larger version of this guy over here. Unfortunately, they're stickered different. So that's fine and well, but what does this mean in terms of the functionality as a puzzle? Well, it has a characteristic where you took a cube, which was its base, and you started to move it more at the edges. So this face turn over here is equivalent to one of these corner turns. And this corner turn, if I were to turn this corner over here, that would be the translation of this over here, because these are chopped down, right? So these are chopped down. So if this is equivalent to this turn, this would be like a corner turn here, as opposed to a face turn, which would be equivalent to an edge turn on this cube. So a face turning rhombic dodecahedron, if you translate it all the way back, is an edge turning platonic solid, an edge turning cube. Does that make sense? So basically this face turn with these more triangular three colored pieces over here, 4 colored pieces over here, is like moving this just like that. Or you can move it this direction over here. So this is like turning at the face, but we'll do it over here. So it's like turning here. This is equivalent to this configuration on the cube, because what you did is you sliced these corners down and you ended up, whoop, try it like this. You slice these corners down over here and you ended up with this over here. So if you face it this way and I turn it like that, which is how this guy turns, then it translates to turning on the edge. So this is equivalent to an edge turning cube in terms of its functionality. So what do we have that's an edge turning cube? And the answer is the helicopter cube. Right over here, the helicopter cube. So basically, we'll go like this. So basically, if I turn this on the corner, I end up with a helicopter cube. The helicopter cube is basically is basically close to, it's sort of the equivalent of this guy over here, which is the face-turning rhombic dodecahedron. The face-turning rhombic dodecahedron is like an edge-turning cube. So, so because this is equivalent, is equivalent to the turning of this component over here, which is equivalent to this place over here, it will be equivalent to an edge-turning cube. So that means that this guy must be very similar to this guy over here. Now, when you look at this, this puzzle, the Rua puzzle, I can sort of start to correlate these pieces together. So, for instance, if I turn this over here, this has the functionality of actually jumbling. What jumbling is that I can take it to partial turn, and then I can move a turn over here and end up not able to complete a move. So that's the process of jumbling. Okay, so this seems to be equivalent to that, where if this turn is equivalent to this turn, then these corners here are equivalent to these two pieces over here, and these guys over here are equivalent to these pieces over here. So we have an almost one-to-one correlation with this helicopter cube. But it's not exactly the same because I've got these tips over here, what we would call corners. Now if I had to add some pieces and call those corners, then instead of just a helicopter cube, I do a curvicopter. So I'm going to correlate this with a curvicopter because turning this turn is equivalent to turning this turn. So that means these pieces are equivalent. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces that turn with this motion, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I actually have more. So it's not a one-to-one correlation with that. And these pieces here, I guess the closest that I can approximate that is this center piece over here. Okay, but the functionality is pretty much the same. So just like I can come up to here and bring this down like so, so too I can bring this up to here and bring this across like this. And it's really kind of the same move. This can move back down, and this can move back down. So let's go ahead and move this back. So now that we've established the geometric structure of this kind of puzzle, and we've also established the function of what it solves like, now we can maybe look to see how we can generate algorithms in order to solve this. Well, so how does this correlate with this? Well, when I move this piece over here, I can see something of a correlation. I've got corners over here, here, and here. I don't know if I should call those edges or corners, but anyway, so these pieces. I've got these pieces over here. I'll call these edges and these corners. And then I've got these pieces over here, these central pieces, which correlate with that. But now I've got a center piece, And I've also got these extra pieces over here. So what does that correlate with? Well, I think if we look at this and we see that these guys are correlated with each other, could it be a master version? Well, this is the master version of the Rua. This is Green Art's excellent version here. The master Rua. Excellent puzzle. But this is not that. This is the master version. The equivalent to what would be like a master curvy copter. But that's not exactly what this is. This just has extra pieces. So the best way that we can correlate what this puzzle is we have extra pieces over here that can potentially be teased out. So the best way to correlate this, where you have extra pieces associated with this, is the Curvy Copter Plus. Because with the Curvy Copter Plus, they take these pedals over here and they split them. So just like that, these pedals, this would kind of represent the pedals, collectively all of these together, and it's split just like the Curvy Copter Plus. So the question is, how much does that analogy hold, and can I use Curvy Copter Plus strategy to solve this and simply do it like that? Well, we can start off with how it correlates in terms of doing what I call the double jumble maneuver. What that is this goes up, this goes down on this side, then we go 180 degrees, splat. Then I do it the opposite area, up, down. This goes 180 degrees and clunk. And what that effectively does is it swaps these two and these two. So let's see what happens if we do something similar here. This goes up here, this goes up there, turn it, down and up, and this goes up, this goes down, turn, up and down. Okay, so what we see is we see something very similar. These two swapped and these two swapped. So that correlates with these pedals over here. And in that correlation, we can see how that kind of works out. Now notice there are 3 pieces that moved, and here there's just 2. So it's like a split of the split, but if we say that this represents this baseline over here, and these guys represents this small area over here, then I think that we can do similar strategy regarding solving. So now I know that this is a plus. Now there's other things that you can do with these plus pieces. So let's go ahead and get this back. And we can use very similar algorithms. And we'll get this back here too. So I'm going to correlate all of these together. And we're going to generate algorithms and then see what we can do about a solve. Okay. Now the thing about the plus cube is it not only jumbles in the way that, that this kind of puzzle jumbles. So that would be equivalent to going like this, turn, and this comes back down. So that's sort of the same thing. It not only jumbles, it also does another phenomenon called mix-up. What a mix-up puzzle does is it takes a piece that classically belongs in one area and puts it in a different area. So a mix-up puzzle would mean that I can take a center and put it where a corner is and move it as a corner. So I can start to swap that, which means I can take these pedals and I can put it in a corner position and turn it as though it were a corner. And the way that you do that mix-up is I would simply put this in a corner position, turn it all the way around, move this back down, and now if I move this, because if I try that here, turn it here and move that back down, I can't move this. It's truly jumbled. Jumbled means that I've blocked a move. But here, if I do that same thing, I can move it. So now notice this is in a corner position. I took a central pedal, put it in a corner position, and that's where it stays. So I can move it just like it was a corner. So that's called a mix-up move, and that's what you can do with this puzzle. Let's actually get this back over here and here. So can I do a similar move with that and do a mix-up portion? Well, let's take let's take this, we'll call it the plus portion, and move it into a corner. Move it all the way around, and then move this back down. Now in this puzzle, I wouldn't be able to move past that. So I go here, double turn, and this moves down. And I can't move this. But now that I have plus pieces, if I try, I can actually move this. So this movement over here that I just did, this plus piece, I've now put a central area, an edge in a corner. Well, let's just say I put this in this position over here, because this actually more represents a central area. This is correlated here. It's not really an edge, it's a central. So I can say I put a central piece in a corner area, and I got a corner piece in a central area. So I've done a mix-up move, which is exactly the same as this. All right, so this is the same kind of a move over here. This represents this piece over here, a corner in a in a central position, just like this, and a corner in a pedal in a corner position, just like this. So if we were to get this back, bring this back over here, up, across, bang, and let's get this guy back here, 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 and splat. Okay, once you understand that, you can now probably stop and see if you can scramble and solve it just as you would a curvy copter plus by putting these in mix-up positions and just kind of seeing what kind of correlations happen from there. Okay, so I think what we can do now is start to look over some of the algorithms. Now, it's kind of like an analogy, but it's not exactly the same thing, because I've got these pieces over here that don't really have a direct correlation. I can maybe correlate it with this piece that's split and driven to either side of the side, and sure, but it doesn't really function like that. So what I'd basically like to do is see if I can 3-cycle these corner pieces over here, and then see if I can 3-cycle these two together. These are going to be assembled the way that I assembled these, so that's how I'm going to use that as an analogy. So to generate an algorithm, I'll start off with a commutator, which are moves, and see if I can isolate the move, and then find a middle move, and then substitute another move in that place. So now the movement is pretty restricted if I don't want to lose my shape. So we'll start off with a 2R, and then we'll do a 2U. So we're going to say 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Okay, we look and see if there's anything that I can comfortably isolate without dragging this piece along here. Because I know to get it back, I just say 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R. Okay, so let's do it again and see what we can isolate. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Okay. What I'm going to do next is, let's see if I can isolate this piece. Before I get it back, let's just do a middle move and see what happens. So I'm going to move this down here. So I'm going to do, I guess, a 2F. And let's just go ahead and undo that algorithm that we did. So that's going to be 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R. And then we're going to move this back. Okay? So we take a look and we see this piece is all isolated now. Nothing else was moved with this, but this is isolated. So what I did is I did an algorithm where I did 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, moved this down, reversed it, and moved it back. So now I can create a middle move and then undo what I just did. So I'm going to take a 2 bottom L, I guess, move this out of the way, and move another piece in. Bang. Okay, that's my middle move. Now I'm going to go ahead and undo the move that I did before, you know, the first set. So I'm going to do a 2F and then start that algorithm again. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Double turn this, then undo what I just did. 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, and this will move back. So as you can see, I did manage to 3-cycle these corners. So this green went to here, this one went to here, and this piece went to here. But note the orientation, because we're going to need to know that as we start to 3-cycle and move these in. This green actually went over to here with the same color on this side to this side over here. This one is the same color here too, so this just slid over here. So this piece slid over here with this color being ending up over here. This piece slid over here with this color ending up over here. And this jumped to here, but which color ended up here? And that's going to be this. So the one on the bottom ended up here, and this color over here, which is gray, ended up here. So you just have to bear that in mind. This color comes to here. If we can't remember that, if I move this here, and here. That'll remind me what color goes to there. Okay, so let's kind of put this into muscle memory and do that algorithm again. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, do a 2F, then reverse that, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, and then 2F to put that back in. Okay, we do a 2 bottom L over here, then bring this back with the 2F, and now we start that algorithm again. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, do a 2F, reverse it, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, and then we bring this middle move back. Okay, so one more should take this piece, slide it to here, this piece, slide it to here with this color, and this green, light green, will come right over to here. Okay, so the next thing to start to move around are these guys over here. So I think the best thing to do, because doing that double jumble maneuver, we'll maneuver these without moving these corner pieces. I think that's kind of the direction that we're going to want to go. So let's see how we can isolate things. I'm going to first do a double jumble maneuver by going up, down, double turn, down, up. Then I go to the other end, up, down, double turn, down, up. Okay, what I'm going to do now is notice that I put this to here and this to here, but I'd like to isolate this piece. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this side here and do a double turn over here, bang. And that's going to sort of isolate this piece over here, because I'm going to end up turning that back. So I'm going to double turn that. I'm going to take this piece here by moving the top piece and double turn that over here. Okay, after doing that, I'm now going to take this, I'm going to move it back. So in that way, I isolated this from here. Now I'm going to double jumble it again, and that's going to move things where I want them to go. So up, down, double turn, down, up, then up, down, double turn, bang, splat. Now I'm going to undo the move that I did, so I'm going to double turn here, 2R, 2U, and 2R. So what we can see is that this green piece went all the way to here, this beige piece went to here, and this light blue piece went to here. So that's a nice 3 cycle of these pieces. So just to get into muscle memory, this will come over to here, this will come down to here, and this will slide up to here. So up, down, double turn, down, up. This is what I call the double jumble. Double turn and splat. Okay, isolate this, do a 2L, then 2U, and 2L. And now reverse it, up, down, double turn, down, up, and up, down, double turn, down, up, and reverse what we did. 2L, 2U, 2L. So you can see that one more turn of this is going to get these back where we need them to be. Now, what we want to do also is we'd like to separate these pieces here. We want to separate these plus pieces. So we're going to do it in a very similar way that we did with the Curvy Copter Plus. So we're going to take this piece here, this central pedal, and move it into corner position. Move this down over here so that it's in that position. Now we're going to take this piece, move this to here, and across to here. When I do that, I can now take this and I can swap these two back here. I can move this back up to here, turn this to here, go up and down. Well, back here. So in essence what I did is I swapped these two pieces here. To swap them back, put this, so that's what I'm going to be swapping. Put this into here, double turn, move this up, turn this here, double turn, swapping them back, and this should get me back to my start. So that's what I would do to swap those pieces. So let's see if we can get a perspective on that. Actually, what I think I'll do is let's go ahead and do a 180-degree non-jumbled, non-plussed, non-mixed up scramble. So what I showed was sort of a mix-up scramble and also a jumble. So let's go ahead and do that. Now before I do that, there's one further algorithm, and that's moving these guys around, these edge pieces around, which is the same thing as moving these corners over here. And the way this is going to work is what this algorithm is going to do is this will go here, this will go here, and this will go here. And the way that's going to work is we're going to first move this into this spot by doing a 2F, then do a 2R, 2L, 2R, then turn it again, and then do a reverse that again. Once again, 2R, 2L, 2R. Okay, what you're going to find is this piece went to here, this went to here, and this piece went over to here. Now, it did mess these guys up, and if I wanted to get these back, then I do have a way of doing that. I just have to start double jumbling that. So anytime I move these pieces the way that I did, it's going to mess these up. So what I'm going to do is by double jumbling it, this can go to here, this is going to end up over here, and these are going to swap. So this is going to be on this silver and orange one is going to be here. I'd like to move that over to here. So in other words, I want to do a double jumble that'll swap these two, but these two also have to be able to be swapped back as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double turn this over here, and I'm going to swap these two and these two. This will put this into place, so when I swap it back, this will already be here, ready to swap back when I go like this. Okay, so after you do that corner algorithm, simply turn this here, and do a double jumble maneuver to swap these two. Up, down, double turn, down, up, down, double turn, and splat. This is now in place, so I'm going to double turn this over here, and now I'm going to swap these two and these two. So these two are ready to swap, and these two can swap back. Up, down, double turn, down, up, down, double turn, and splat. Okay, so what we did is we did an even exchange. This went to here, and this slid over to here. The silver one slid over to here, and this one went over to here, where this piece is in this spot over here. Okay, now that was a little more complicated, but let's go ahead and go through those steps again just to get it into muscle memory. So I want to slide this over to here, and this peach is going to be here. So we're going to double turn like this. Now we got to get these two out of the way. So it's going to be 2R, 2L, 2R, and then we're going to go ahead and do the 2F again. And now we redo what we just did. We'll go 2R, 2L, 2R. Okay, so these did flip over. Now to get these back, I'm going to do a 2L and do a double jumble. Up, down, turn around, down, up, down, turn around, down, up. This double turns here, and now I do one more double jumble. Up, down, turn around, down, up, down, turn around, down, up. Okay? So now we know clean ways of swapping these pieces, clean ways of swapping these pieces, and clean ways of swapping these pieces. Put it all together, and that's all you're going to need to know to solve a puzzle like this. But now we've got the mix-up, and that's going to follow the pattern that we have with the mix-up portions of this plus. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do a 180-degree scramble, and then I'm going to scramble these plus pieces as well. So turn, turn, turn. Okay, now every so often I'm going to do some double jumbling, or not double jumbling. When you do a double jumble, by the way, it doesn't take things out of their orbits. They just swap these two. If I want to take them out of their orbits, then I'm going to go up, down, and do a single jumble maneuver. And that single jumble maneuver will take them out of their orbit. So I'm going to do that from time to time just to increase the challenge. Now I kind of assume knowledge on solving a curvy copter, and it might be prudent when we do the actual solve is maybe scramble the curvy copter and do a tandem solve just so that you can get perspective on what it all means. Or rather than do a perspective like that, is just treat this as its own puzzle. Up, down, double turn, down, up, double turn, down, up. Okay, so that's pretty good. Maybe we'll do a couple more like that. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to separate these pieces out. Now I could go through how we separated these pieces out. I kind of already showed that. So what we're going to do is, in order to put these pieces here, I go turn, bring this down here. Now remember, when I did that, this swapped with this one over here. So it's going to be something like that. If I do the double jumble, this piece, or if I do the mix-up swap, this piece is associated with this piece right here. These are the same. And this piece is associated with this piece over here. So if I do that same technique that I showed with this puzzle, I should swap this and this. So let's see what happens. This will come down to here so that you're in jumble position. Double turn. So now this is jumbled. Now I'm going to take this, move it all the way up to here so that's on the top, and then double turn this over to here. Okay, so you can see these two are facing each other. Now, if I do this turn, I'm going to mix these pieces together. I'm going to double turn over here, bang. This is now mixed up here. So I'm going to get it back by double turning this here, moving it down, and turning it. Then we can move this back up. So you can see this and this, these two swapped. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to keep doing that all around this puzzle. I can swap this with this, move this over to here, double turn, move this up, this comes across here, double turn it, swing this back, bring this down, and across. Now I'm not telling you algorithms, just kind of watch what I'm doing. It's more positioning, so these two, had to go like this. So these two swapped. So I'm going to keep doing that. Now I may want to put a different one in so I don't keep doing complements of each other. So this will come down into this position, jumbled position. Bring this across, we're jumbled here. Now this will come up in its jumbled position up here. Double turn. So now this side can scramble these two pieces, move this back here, bring this back here, and then take it out of jumbled position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do this throughout the puzzle. And then I've got one more thing to show, which is basically how to do a mix-up where these corner pieces exchange with these, edge pieces here. But I'm going to go ahead and do more of that scramble in exactly the same way. Now I do want to point something out. I just exchanged these two pieces. Now let's say I wanted to move this into this position. The way to move this into this position is I know that I can swap these two by doing a single jumble. And the way that that's going to work is, let's say I wanted to swap these two. I'm going to hold this over here so that they're on the back portion here. I'm going to double turn this to here, double turn this to here. So these two are facing this side here. This moves up and this moves down. I double turn, down, up, and now I can double turn this back and double turn this back. So in essence what I did is I swapped those two, and I did that so that now I can jumble these. So I just wanted to point that out because that process in getting our perspective with that is going to be very important when I have to change and swap orbits. So this will come here, here, and here. Okay, I shall carry on. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. The next thing I'm going to show is basically swapping these guys out here. So let's say you put something in a mix-up position here. I got this over here, and then move this down. All right, so you got these over here, and there's actually a way, now that this is in an edge position, and this is an essential position, there's a way to kind of swap this out. So I can actually take these and move this to the other side. I can swap this to here and this to here. To do that, if I move this like so, I've now moved this away from here. I've sort of created another side here. Now, this doesn't really make sense. This is longer. You're not supposed to have two across from each other. So this is jumbled or mixed up, as is this over here. Now what I can do is, instead of having this in this position, is I can end up moving this in this position over here. The way that I would do that is, let's move this around, is this piece, which is in a mix-up position, is I'm actually going to position it to where this is sort of behind here. So if you can imagine, this is in a mixed-up position, this is in a corner position, this is here, sort of in the back right side. This has to be pointing this way, so this is rotated wrong. So I want to rotate this here. The way that I can rotate this is I'm going to bring this around here, just sort of going all around. I got to move this out of the way. Move this up. And now what I want to do is I want to move this into here, but I've got to get this out of the way here. It's not going to be able to move with this, it's too jumbled. So I'm going to move this down, move this up, move this back. So you can see this is still not pointing the right way. This has to be pointing up, so it's rotated wrong. So once again, turn. Now this can't move because it's jumbled here. So now I can move this to here. I'm just basically rotating it all around. Now I'm going to move this up to here. So let's get this out of the way. Double turn this out of the way. Move this up and move this in. Now, when I see it in this position, it can work. Now I can swap these two. And the way that this is going to work, the way that I'm going to do that, is I'm going to take this, put this into this edge position over here. Now, in reality, right now this is in the wrong position. So I'm going to put this in edge position here, because I want to swap it with this. So to swap these two, put this in edge position, then turn it all the way around, do a 180-degree turn. Now I want to swap it with this. This is going to be in the way, so I'm going to move this down like so. I'm going to double turn this, so now this is matched in. I'm going to turn this back, and now double turn. Now upon doing that, I've now taken this out of jumbled position, and although it may be hard to see, what I in essence did is I basically rotated those pieces. So this was on the other side, basically. So I'm going to go ahead and continue to just jumble the puzzle. So I'm going to throw caution to the wind and just turn and see how many ways I can make this totally and utterly confusing. So now this is jumbling, and by jumbling it, I'm actually going to rearrange things. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm not going to really have any particular pattern that I'm using, except to try to make it as difficult as possible to get back, so that I can recreate any situation. So this is fully jumbled. I can't turn these here, can't turn these, so I have to make another turn to see what turns I can create. So I can create this turn over here. This won't turn. This will turn over here. This won't turn here. This won't turn here. Okay, so I'm going to keep turning this, and this is basically up to you at this point to do whatever you can. I'm trying to separate these pieces as much as I can to continue the jumble process. Okay, I'll come back to you with another full when it's fully scrambled.